Hi, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to make this Acorn quilt block and turn it into a decorative pillow. I have two versions here. This one, I used a little bit different fabrics on it, very neutral colors. This one, the background fabric is a little bit brighter in color. I also used cotton batting on this one, and I did quilting stitches because if you're going to use cotton batting, you need to do quilting stitches. This one does not. It has lightweight interfacing on the back of the quilt block. If you want to know how to do quilting stitches, then scroll down to the description section and there will be a link on how to do quilting stitches. So make sure you just scroll down, click on show more or the down arrow, and then you will see those links. All of the supplies and sizes to cut your fabric are also listed in the description section. Okay, let's get started. We're going to start at the very top of the Acorn block. So take your 2.5 inch square, and these are 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch. You're going to stitch them together. So you bring front sides together of your fabric and stitch 1/4 inch seam. So you stitch both of them on. Then press your seams towards the middle. For the next part of the top of the acorn, you're going to need two squares that are 2.5 inch. That's the background fabric. On the back side, draw a line from corner to corner. Then take your strip that is 2.5 by 10.5. Place those background squares on each end of this strip. And you're going to have them going in this direction. Don't put them going in the same direction because it won't come out right. So it's going out like this. Then you're going to stitch on this side of the line, but right next to the line. So stitch next to the line on this side, and then on the opposite side, you're going to stitch on this side of the line, right next to the line. Then you're going to cut these corners down to 1/4 inch wide. Do that on both corners. Whoops, let me get this cut. And then you're going to press this going out that way on both ends. Now we're going to work on the lower portion of the acorn. So you're going to have 9 2.5 inch squares. Try to make them a variety of colors. And you're also going to need 2 background squares with the line drawn at a diagonal. And you're going to place them on top, just like you did before, like this. Stitch them on, and again, stitching on this side of the line, right next to the line. Trim the corners off, and then press. Take one more of your squares for the lower portion of the acorn, place it in between these, and then you're going to bring front sides together and stitch 1/4 inch seam on each side. Take the other 6 2.5 inch squares and stitch them 3 in a row. And then you're going to press your seams. Now, on all of these 3 rows, what I tried to do is press the seams going in the opposite direction. So you'll notice one's going this way, one's going this way, and on this one that you just made, you need to press the seams going that way. Now you're going to bring the rows together and stitch them. You're going to stitch 1/4 inch seam. So you would bring front sides together. Match your seams first. So the seam on the bottom should be going in the opposite direction than the seam on top. I recommend you pin each seam and then stitch a 1/4 inch seam along here. And then your last step for this section is take each of these individual seams and press them on the back side. So you would do that to both of them. Then you would press the seams all in one direction. And then when you're done, this is what it should look like. On each side, the two opposite sides of the block, you're going to put 2.5-inch by 6.5-inch strips of fabric. Bring front sides together, stitch 1/4-inch seam, press the seams, unfold and press. Now stitch all 3 sections together. Bring front sides together, stitch a 1/4-inch seam, and then add this on to here and stitch a 1/4-inch seam. Stitch the background fabric on the 2 opposite sides. I asked you to cut them 10.5 inches long by 2.5, but when I'm doing this particular step, I actually like to cut them longer than what this side requires. This way I can cut it off nice and even. So take your 2 pieces of fabric and stitch a 1/4-inch seam and stitch a 1/4-inch seam. Then press your seams on the back side, unfold and press on top. Because I did cut my strips a little longer, I'm now going to place my ruler on the bottom edge of the block and trim these 2 end pieces off. Take your last 2 strips of fabric and place one at opposite sides. Again, bring front sides together, stitch a 1/4-inch seam, do the same thing at the bottom, then press your seams, unfold and press on top, then trim any edges off that are sticking out. When you're done, your block should look like this. Now I'm going to turn it over onto the back side. This is what it looks like. I kind of need to clean up my pressing just a little bit. So if you have things that are going in all kinds of different directions, it's twisted, you want to make sure you press that nice and flat. Now I'm going to be demonstrating the option that you have for putting lightweight fusible interfacing on the back. If you're going to use the cotton batting, this is what you would do. You would cut your cotton batting the same size as your block. You would do the same thing if you're going to use the fusible interfacing. Place your block on top and cut it to be an exact fit. Then you would place it on the back side. I haven't cut mine yet. Place it on the back side. Follow package instructions for fusing it on. It involves placing a damp cloth on the back and using a hot iron with steam. Make sure you have the correct side of the glue. I can feel it's kind of rough on one side. That's where the glue is. So go ahead, follow package instructions and fuse your interfacing on. Now take your fabric for the back, and this is mine and it's front side up or pretty side up. Take your quilt block, your acorn block, and you're going to put pretty side down, front side down against your fabric. And then you're going to take your ruler and rotary cutter and trim your background or the fabric for the back to be an exact cut. Place pins around all 4 edges. Indicate an area where you're going to leave open that's large enough for your hand to go through so that you can insert your polyfill stuffing. So I have 2 pins here, so it'll tell me where I need to stop stitching. So begin here, backstitch on each side of your opening, stitching a 1/4-inch seam around all 4 sides, and again stop here and backstitch. Trim your corners down to where they're about 1/8 of an inch wide. When you do this, it helps your corners to lay a lot flatter. So I like to take one off at an angle like that, and then just a tiny bit off on each side. Again, you do this on all 4 corners. Now reach in between your front fabric and your back fabric, and you're going to begin turning it front side out. Now reach inside and poke your corners out. I wouldn't use scissors to poke them out, but you can use something like a chopstick to do that. The last step is to take your polyfill stuffing and insert it into the pillow. I like to fill in the 2 back corners first, then fill in the middle back here, and then begin to work your way forward. And then of course fill in the 2 corners here. When you are done, go ahead and turn your edges in at your opening and then pin them closed. You can do a ladder stitch to close it up, which is a hidden stitch. It can't be seen. If you do not know how to do a ladder stitch, scroll down below your YouTube screen to the description section. Click on Show More or the down arrow, and you will see all the links appearing that I've talked about in this tutorial. And this is what it looks like when they're all done. Now, this one here in my right side was made with the cotton batting, and I did do quilting stitches. This is the one with just the lightweight fusible interfacing, and there's no quilting stitches involved. And again, this one has piping, this one does not. So it all depends on what your preference is. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something new. I just want to mention one thing. All of the items that are behind me on the wall or near the wall, I have tutorials on. So all you need to do is scroll down to that description section and you will see all of the links appear. Now don't forget to follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl. This is Manny. See you next time.